And now it's time for another edition of What Would Jello Do? What a long, strange trip it's been these past few days. 911, Pearl Harbor, I don't think so. But we all really have to be grateful that Dirty Donnie Trump-a-muck proved no more competent at pulling off a coup and stealing his second election than he is at doing anything constructive to combat COVID. He couldn't coordinate anything. And now all it's, Jared, they kicked me off of Twitter. Jared, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? They don't want us living in Mar-a-Lago. They already said we can't go to Scotland. And Al Jorgensen said they can rent his place for $1 million a month, but Melania would sleep downstairs on the couch. Jared! Yes. It's dangerous times, and yeah, impeachment fast is the right way to go. Of course he was involved. Of course he helped coordinate it, right down to the DC Capitol cops being denied reinforcements 2 or 3 different times as they were being overwhelmed. Maybe that's what they get for parting the Red Sea and lifting the initial barricades. And you're going to go in? Okay, go on in. But day after day, hour after hour, when I want to turn my phone off for a while, more weird stuff comes up that you just can't make up. A whole throng of neo-Nazis yelling, "Hang Mike Pence! Hang Mike Pence!" Then they brought a noose and were rumored to have brought a guillotine. And then there was the dude with the staff and the horns. I get text, Jello, is that Rob Zombie? No, there were some other friends of mine who were there, which I'm pretty upset about, but no, it wasn't. Then there was the port that one of the guys who died in the process of tearing down a portrait of Tip O'Neill, of all people, in the rotunda, while the taser he had on him was accidentally tasing him through his nuts over and over and over again until he died of a heart attack. Well, you can't make that stuff up, but it sounds like maybe they did in that case. But coordination? COVID? Yeah, leave it all to the states. We don't give a shit. Let them figure it all out. We're not even going to give them any PPE or nothing. Now here, again, instead of coordinating, he just gets on that stage, as does Don Jr., who looks even worse in a beard than just about anybody else I can think of, telling people, yeah, go on to the Capitol, go on to the Capitol, we will join you, we will lead the charge, and then true to form, they don't even show up. As these ragtag amateur lunatics genuinely believing this is going to be the revolution and suddenly the government is going to fall. They were no more successful than those generals who tried to overthrow Gorbachev way back when and were so drunk on TV announcing they'd taken over the country that that thing fell, I think, even over a weekend and stuff like that. So the bottom line is, yes, this was planned for a long time. Yes, a lot of the people who knew about it way in advance didn't do a damn thing about it. Yes, Michigan Capitol and Charlottesville were just dry runs for this, and possibly worse when they're threatening to go after all the state capitals now, and governor and election and secretaries of state houses, Nancy Pelosi's house, and McConnell's place even, which I have to chuckle a little bit about, but still, that's how out of control and dangerous this monster now is. The quicker impeached, the quicker removed, the better, before he pardons too many arch criminals, as he and Rudy Giuliani, with his Count Chocula crumbs from his old modeling career, rub back into his hair, running down his face, as they're frantically sitting in the Oval Office with, Jared, Stephen Miller, come on, how can we get out of this? What can we do? How can we get away with pardoning every single rioter, even though we don't know who they are? Because they wimped out and they wore masks and disguised themselves. Jared, help! They won't let us into Mar-a-Lago. They won't let us into Scotland. Where are we going to go? Jared! The sooner he's on ice, the better. And even if the impeachment trial is after Biden takes office, it still has to be done, at least within the next 3 months, forcing all those people on the extreme right side of the aisle, there's not really much of a moderate right side left, have to vote on record whether they're still down with Trump's agenda and rioting like that or not. I mean, the more comic highlights, like Joe Scarborough on Opening Morning Joe just pounding on his desk, howling at the moon for the first 20 minutes of the show. I knew that one was going to be good, so I turned it on and watched it. And then even Mitt Romney is talking about preserving the Constitution just in time for a tweet praising him to pop up on Dead Kennedy's Twitter feed. Then another one for Lindsey Graham. Then East Bay Ray says, oh, no, that was our social media coordinator. Who was that? You? The manager? Who knows? Taking no responsibility and never admitting you're wrong, doesn't that remind you of somebody else who's in a much more dangerous position to do exactly that? So all I can say is, yes, impeach, out as fast as possible so he can't pardon everybody or do even more damage and egg on even more wingnuts, even when Giuliani's new reading glasses look like he got them from the ones they give all the indigent people at Bellevue, exact same kind, carries on the way they do. Which leaves it to Biden. Now, after all that's gone down, does he still really believe that he should go through with his promise of, I just want to turn the page. We're not going to go after any of the Trump crimes because we've got to just let that go, turn the page, and that way everybody, the country will unite again. They didn't unite for Obama. They didn't unite for Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton, or even George W. Bush for very long after he started his war on terrorism blunder wars that still go on for this day. That's not going to happen. The only way you are ever going to unite anybody, Mr. President, is if you finally restore the rule of law. And that means Trump Sr. goes down, Trump Jr. goes down, Stephen Miller and Jeff Sessions and William Barr go down for putting kids in concentration camps on the Texas border and carving up women and doing hysterectomies on them just to see what happens without them realizing what's about to happen to them. What was the last concentration camp? That kind of stuff was going on. That's just part of it. Every place you look, of course, you got to get Pruitt. You got to get his successor. You've got to get DeVos. Let's not forget Mitch McConnell's wife, Elaine Chao, who was made Secretary of Transportation. What does she know about buses and trains? Doesn't matter. She's from the family that owns Foremost Shipping, that great big container ship company, and most of the family is still in China. So when they went over on missions to China, she always got to go too and have her own meeting with Xi Jinping to discuss business. Maybe that should be investigated too. Or Wilbur Ross's part ownership of the Bank of Cyprus, where all this Russian mob money kept getting laundered. Or, what's the other one? Mnuchin and all the stuff he did. You have to enforce the rule of law if there's ever going to be rule of law again. Otherwise, every last crooked president that comes in is going to go even further to see how much more they can loot the store, how many more human rights they can violate, how much more of the Constitution they can piss on and then try to burn. If Obama had gone after the Bush regime for war crimes, their kids would not be in cages right now. One example. So, Mr. Bidenoid, if you still think that just turning the page and trying to sweep all the Trump damage under the rug is the right thing to do, it is going to unite the country, let alone restore the rule of law, I think I know somebody else who might need the 25th Amendment.